זכור את אשר עשה לך עמלק נצטווינו. אנו זוכרים ואנו נלחמים.
This is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defending Israel's current war on Palestine's Gaza with biblical reasoning. Netanyahu invoked the notion of Amalek in reference to a holy war between good and evil cited in the Torah.
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu knows that he depends heavily on the United States to veto any UN resolutions critical of Israel's behavior. And he needs US military support to counter any threat from Syria or Lebanon.
But it's not just Netanyahu. Such references have been echoing in the US for decades. In 1978, then-President Jimmy Carter mentioned that the establishment of Israel was the fulfillment of a biblical prophecy.
It actually goes back to the 1960s. Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan. With the Six-Day War, it was kind of the wake-up call for evangelical, Bible-believing Christians, particularly in America. And it was exploited as the fulfillment of Bible prophecy.
Amid Israel's current bombing campaign in Gaza, the rhetoric has turned more vile. American evangelical pastors who are staunch supporters of Zionism just can't stop repeating biblical prophecies.
Israel, fasten your seatbelt. You're seeing Bible prophecy fulfilled in your lifetime, in real time, before your very eyes.
We shouldn't be shocked and surprised that Satan is still at his same goal, because prophecy talks about how Messiah will come back again.
So, what is Christian Zionism? Christian Zionism is centered around an end-of-the-world interpretation of Christianity, the belief in the return of Jewish people to Israel, leading to the second coming of Jesus Christ. It is one of the common factors that binds Christian Zionists with Zionism.
Christian Zionism predates Jewish Zionism by at least 50 years, and today dominates the Zionist movement at least 10 to 1, probably nearer 20, 30 to 1. For every Jewish Zionist, there are 20 or 30 Christian Zionists. And therefore, Netanyahu knows he needs the Christian, particularly the Christian right in America, Canada, Sweden, Holland, much of Europe, in order to maintain his position and to continue the expansion of the Zionist agenda in Palestine.
And over the decades, this influential movement has dictated U.S. foreign policy when it comes to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Remember when former U.S. President Donald Trump made a candid confession during a rally in 2020?
And we moved the capital of Israel to Jerusalem. That's for the evangelicals. You know, it's amazing with that. The evangelicals are more excited about that than Jewish people. It's really, right? It's incredible.
Currently, more than 100 members of the U.S. Congress can be identified as evangelical. Joe Biden, the current U.S. president, has openly identified as a Zionist.
You need not be a Jew to be a Zionist.
There are hundreds of organizations in the United States founded by Christian Zionists that call for public support for the state of Israel, the biggest among them being Christians United for Israel, with 10 million members led by the evangelist John Hagee.
God is getting ready to defend Israel in such a supernatural way. It's going to take the breath out of the lungs of the dictators on planet Earth.
Evangelical support for Israel does not just stop at political lobbying, influencing foreign policy, and mobilizing public opinion, but also fundraising and organizing tours of the occupied West Bank, including funding settlements in the occupied territories, which are illegal under international law. Evangelicals also oppose the two-state solution, believing that dividing the land will incur God's disfavor.
It's Israel's strategy in the occupied territories and in Gaza. It is to depopulate them and steal more and more land. And if you believe that there's going to be a war of Armageddon, that we are on God's side, Israel's on God's side, and anyone who opposes us is on the enemy's side.
And this bias is reflected in the polls, where a majority of Americans are supporting Israel over Palestinians amid the current conflict.
So there is absolutely no justification for the killing of civilians, for genocide, for the kind of saturation bombing we're seeing in Gaza at the moment. And Netanyahu knows that. And so he's pulling out of scripture a verse here, a verse there, to try and placate his main constituency, which is the Christian Zionist movement.